My name is Ryan. I'm 34 years old. Last month, my father told me I was getting nothing. But that same night, someone else called me and said I owned everything. I remember sitting in my car, staring at my phone, while my father was still inside the house, telling everyone I had failed him. I thought it was a mistake. It had to be, because just an hour earlier, he looked me in the eyes and said, "You're not part of this family anymore." Before I tell you what actually happened, like the video, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from, because what I'm about to share completely changed my life. A month ago, everything felt normal. Not perfect, but stable. My father was a wealthy man, strict, cold, but respected. He built everything from nothing, and he reminded us of that every single day. I have one younger brother, Ethan. He was always the favorite. Better grades, better attitude, better in my father's eyes. I was different. I took risks, started small businesses, failed, tried again. But to my father, I was just a disappointment. That night, everything changed. We were all sitting at the dinner table. My father looked serious, more serious than usual. "I've made a decision," he said. The room went quiet. He looked at Ethan first, then at me. "My entire estate," he paused, "will go to Ethan." Silence. I felt something break inside me. "What?" I said. He didn't even look at me. "You've proven you can't handle responsibility," he continued. Ethan stayed quiet, didn't defend me, didn't say anything, and that hurt more than anything. "I'm your son," I said. Finally, he looked at me, and his words cut deeper than anything I've ever heard. "Not the one I can trust." That was it. I stood up, walked out. No one stopped me, not even Ethan. I drove for hours that night, trying to understand how everything changed so fast. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but I answered. "Hello?" A man's voice, calm, professional. "Is this Ryan Carter?" "Yes." "I'm calling regarding your inheritance." I frowned. "I think you have the wrong person." A short pause. "No, sir," he said. "According to our records, you are the primary beneficiary." My heart stopped. "What are you talking about?" Another pause. "Your father transferred full ownership to your name." I laughed. "That's impossible. He just told me I'm getting nothing." The man didn't react. "Sir," he said slowly, "I suggest you come to our office tomorrow." Then he hung up. I sat there in silence. Two realities. One where I had nothing, and one where I had everything, and I didn't know which one was real. The next morning, I went to the office. I needed answers. The building was quiet, cold, professional. They were expecting me. That's when I started feeling nervous. A man greeted me, shook my hand. "Mr. Ryan, please sit." He placed a file in front of me, and what I saw made my hands shake. Documents, signatures, transfers, everything in my name. Properties, accounts, assets, all of it. "This was completed 2 weeks ago," he said. 2 weeks? That didn't make sense, because last night he gave everything to Ethan. "Are you sure this is real?" I asked. He looked at me seriously. 100%. "And there's something else." My chest tightened. "What?" He leaned forward slightly. "These transfers were marked," he paused, "as confidential." Meaning, he looked at me carefully, meaning someone didn't want this to be known. My mind started racing. If everything was already mine, then why did my father lie? And more importantly, who was he protecting? When I got home, everything felt different. The same house, same people, but something was wrong. My father was sitting in the living room, calm, like nothing had happened. He looked at me. "You're back." I nodded, trying to read his face, trying to understand what he was hiding. And that's when I noticed something. Ethan standing behind him, watching me. Not normal, not relaxed, nervous. And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about money.
Something much bigger was happening, and I was right in the middle of it. That night, I didn't say anything. I didn't ask questions. I just watched. The way my father avoided eye contact.
The way Ethan stayed unusually quiet. Something was wrong. Not obvious, but enough to make me feel it. Like something was being hidden right in front of me. Dinner was silent. No arguments, no tension, but that silence felt heavier than anything. Later that night, I went to my room, closed the door, sat on the bed, and tried to think. If everything was already transferred to me, then why did my father lie? And why did Ethan look nervous? None of it made sense, unless I wasn't supposed to know. That thought stayed with me. The next morning, I woke up early. The house was quiet, too quiet. I walked downstairs, no one in the kitchen, no sound. Then I heard voices coming from my father's office. The door was slightly open. I wasn't planning to listen, but something stopped me, a feeling. So I stayed, just for a second. And that's when I heard it. Ethan's voice, low, tense. What if he finds out? My heart skipped. My father replied, he won't. Simple, cold. How can you be sure? Ethan asked. A pause, then my father said something that made my blood run cold. Because by the time he does, it won't matter. I froze. My hands started shaking. What did that mean? What were they planning? I stepped back quietly, went upstairs, closed my door, locked it. My heart was racing. This wasn't about inheritance anymore. This was something else, something bigger, and I was part of it, whether I liked it or not. That day, I decided something. I needed proof, real proof, not guesses, not feelings, so I started watching them more closely. Every conversation, every movement, everything. Days passed, and slowly things started to reveal themselves. My father was making more calls, private ones. Ethan was always with him, and every time I walked into a room, they stopped talking. That was the first sign. The second came a few days later. I found a file hidden in my father's office, locked drawer, but he forgot to lock it that day. Inside, documents, legal papers, medical reports. I didn't understand at first until I saw my name, my full name. My chest tightened. I kept reading, and then I saw the word, insurance. My hands froze. Huge amount. More money than everything else combined. And then the detail that changed everything. Primary condition, subject deceased. I stopped breathing. Subject was me. I dropped the file. My mind went blank. This wasn't just about money. This was planned, carefully, coldly, and I was the center of it. I put everything back exactly how it was, closed the drawer, walked out slowly, trying not to panic, but inside, everything was collapsing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every thought, every memory started connecting. The transfer, the lie, the nervous behavior, the insurance, and then it hit me. The inheritance was never meant for me. It was just a setup, a trap, and I walked right into it. The next evening, something happened that confirmed everything. My father called me into his office. "Sit down," he said. I sat, trying to stay calm, trying not to show anything. He looked at me carefully, too carefully. "I've been thinking," he said. My heart started racing. "About the future." I nodded slowly. He slid a document toward me. "Sign this." I looked down. Legal papers. Authority transfer. Full control. Everything in my name. It looked like exactly what I wanted. But now I knew better, because this wasn't power. This was bait, and I was supposed to take it. I looked back at him. "Why now?" I asked. He smiled slightly. "Because it's time." That smile felt wrong. Not warm, not proud. Cold, like he already knew something I didn't. I picked up the pen, paused, and in that moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't say no, I wouldn't confront him, I would play along, because whatever they were planning, I needed to know everything before it was too late. I signed, and the moment I did, I saw it.
A look between my father and Ethan. Quick, silent, but real. And that's when I knew something was about to happen. Something I wasn't supposed to survive. That night, I didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head.
The documents, the insurance, the lies, and one truth that I couldn't ignore anymore. They were planning something, and I wasn't meant to survive it. But this time, I was ready. The next morning, I acted normal. I smiled. I spoke calmly. I even thanked my father for trusting me. He smiled back, proud, confident, like everything was going exactly as he planned. And that gave me the advantage, because he thought I didn't know, but I knew everything. Over the next 2 days, I moved carefully, quietly. I gathered proof, every document, every file, every hidden detail. I took pictures, copied records, saved everything. And then, I did something they never expected. I went to the police. At first, they didn't fully understand, but when I showed them the insurance file, the transfer timeline, and the suspicious activity, everything changed. They started listening, carefully, seriously. One officer looked at me and said, "If this is real, you're in danger." I nodded. I know. That's when we made a plan. Simple, but precise. We would let everything play out exactly how they wanted, until the very end, and then we would stop it. The final meeting was set for 2 days later. My father called it a celebration, said we would finalize everything. All legal, all official. I knew better. This wasn't a celebration. This was the final step, the moment everything would be completed, the day I was supposed to disappear. The house was prepared, guests invited, lawyers present. Everything looked normal, perfect even, but underneath, everything was about to collapse. I walked into the room, calm, controlled, like I had nothing to fear. My father smiled when he saw me. "Today is a big day," he said. I nodded. "Yes, it is." Ethan stood beside him, quiet, avoiding my eyes. That told me everything. The documents were placed on the table. "Just one final confirmation," my father said. I picked them up, looked through them slowly, every word, every line. Then I placed them back down, and smiled. "Before we finish," I said calmly, "I want to show something." The room went quiet. My father frowned slightly. "What is it?" I looked toward the door, and nodded. It opened. Police officers walked in. Silence. Instant. Heavy. "What is this?" my father said sharply. I didn't answer. Instead, I placed the file on the table. The same file. The insurance. The plan. Everything. One officer stepped forward. "Sir," he said firmly, "we need to ask you a few questions." My father's face changed. For the first time, he looked unsure. "This is ridiculous," he said, but his voice wasn't as strong anymore. Then the officer opened the file and started reading, out loud, every detail, every plan, every piece of truth. The room felt frozen. Ethan stepped back, pale, shaking. He started, but he couldn't finish, because it was over. Everything was exposed, right there, in front of everyone. My father looked at me, angry, confused. "How did you—" I cut him off. I listened. That was it. That was the moment everything ended. The officers moved forward, calm, controlled, and just like that, they took him away. No shouting, no drama, just silence. Ethan tried to say something, but there was nothing left to say. A few months later, the truth came out completely. The plan, the motive, the insurance, everything. Greed, power, control. That's all it was. And in the end, it destroyed them. My father lost everything. His reputation, his power, his freedom. And Ethan? He lost the one thing he thought he had, favor. Because in the end, he was just part of the plan. Weeks later, I stood alone in the same house, quiet, peaceful,
but different, because now there were no lies, no secrets, just truth. And I finally understood something. They thought money was power, but they were wrong, because real power is knowing the truth before it's too late. If you made it this far, comment, "I stayed awake," because sometimes the people closest to you are the ones you should trust the least, and sometimes surviving means seeing the truth before everyone else does.